They were meant to serve, to protect, to uphold the law, to be the shield that stood between us and the darkness. But some, they stray from the light, they succumb to the shadows. They choose to hunt. Behind the badge, behind the uniform, behind the trust we so readily give, lurked killers. Individuals who swore an oath they never intended to keep. Cold-blooded, calculated, driven by something sinister, something broken, monsters hiding in plain sight. Tonight we delve into the chilling world of true crime. We peel back the layers of deception and expose the truth behind the badge. We uncover the stories that shook communities to their core. Stories that left people questioning everything they thought they knew. These are the cases where the lines blurred, where the protectors became the predators, when the ones sworn to protect us became the very thing we fear. August 1997. Steubenville, West Virginia. A town known for its steel mills and its quiet, unassuming charm. A place where people looked after one another, where mornings held the promise of normalcy. But this particular morning, normalcy was shattered by the crackle of gunfire and the chilling realization that evil can wear a familiar face. It was a day like any other. The sun was just beginning to climb, casting long shadows across the steps of the Jefferson County Courthouse. Inside, court personnel were preparing for the day's proceedings. Lawyers were shuffling papers, clerks were organizing files, and Judge Joseph Brutality, a man known for his fairness and his unwavering commitment to justice, was preparing to take the bench. He had no idea that this day would test his commitment in ways he could never have imagined. The judge arrived at the courthouse just after 8 in the morning, his routine unchanged. He parked his car in the lot across the street, a seemingly ordinary act, a mundane detail in the grand tapestry of life. But sometimes it's the mundane moments that precede the unthinkable. As Judge Brutality stepped out of his car, a figure emerged from the shadows, a man he had never met before, a man with vengeance in his heart and a plan that had been meticulously crafted in the darkness. He wore a black hoodie pulled low over his head, obscuring his features. In his hand, he clutched a gun, a symbol of power, a tool of destruction, a weapon that would soon pierce the tranquility of that summer morning. The man raised his gun, aiming it directly at the judge, and in that moment the air grew thick with anticipation, thick with the knowledge that something terrible was about to happen. The first shot rang out, echoing through the quiet morning air, a sharp, deafening blast that shattered the peace and sent shockwaves through the heart of Steubenville. The tranquility of the day was ripped apart, replaced by the chaos and terror of an unexpected attack. Judge Brutality, caught completely off guard, instinctively ducked for cover behind his car. His heart pounded in his chest. Adrenaline surged through his veins as the reality of the situation sunk in. He was under attack. More shots followed in rapid succession, each blast a hammer blow to the fragile sense of security that had once enveloped the courthouse. People screamed and ran for cover as the gunman continued to fire, his bullets tearing through the air with deadly intent. The once peaceful scene descended into chaos, a whirlwind of confusion and fear. Witnesses would later describe the scene as something out of a nightmare, a senseless act of violence that defied explanation. But Judge Brutality was no stranger to danger. He was a former army paratrooper, a man of courage and conviction. And on this day, his training kicked in. He drew his own concealed weapon, returning fire with a calmness that belied the chaos swirling around him. A shootout erupted in the courthouse parking lot, a desperate struggle for survival. Two men locked in a deadly dance. The gunman, his initial surprise worn off, continued to fire on the judge with a reckless abandon. His bullets ricocheted off the pavement, sending sparks flying. Each shot a desperate gamble, a roll of the dice with fate. But Judge Bruzzese, using his car as cover, returned fire with precision, his years of military training coming into sharp focus. He knew that every shot counted, that his life and the lives of those around him depended on his next move. As the shootout raged on, onlookers watched in disbelief. They huddled behind cars and trees, their hearts pounding in their chests. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder and the acrid tang of fear. First responders raced to the scene, sirens wailing as they navigated the crowded streets. Their arrival brought with it a glimmer of hope, a sense that perhaps order could be restored. Amidst the chaos, someone managed to call 911. The operator's voice, calm and steady, cut through the static. Every detail, every whispered word, every terrified gasp relayed to the dispatcher the weight of the situation, the urgency in their voices, palpable even through the phone lines. Help was on the way, but for those caught in the crossfire, every second felt like an eternity. When the police arrived, the gunman was already down. His body lay sprawled on the pavement, his lifeblood staining the asphalt. He had been shot multiple times. His reign of terror brought to an abrupt and violent end. As the smoke cleared and the echoes of gunfire faded into the distance, a sense of stunned silence settled over the scene. The air was thick with disbelief. How could something like this happen here, in broad daylight? The gunman was soon identified as Nathaniel Richmond, a former police officer himself, a man who had once sworn to protect and serve. His motive, revenge. His son had recently been sentenced by Judge Bruzzese, and Richmond, consumed by anger and grief, had sought retribution. The irony was not lost on anyone. A man who had once worn a badge now lay dead in the shadow of the very justice he had sought to defy. His actions a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface, even in those we trust to uphold the law. The news of the courthouse shooting spread like wildfire through Steubenville and beyond. People struggled to comprehend how such a brazen act of violence could occur, how a place meant to symbolize justice and fairness could become the stage for such a horrific crime. The community was in shock. Their sense of security shattered. The idea that it couldn't happen here proven tragically wrong. The attack on Judge Bruzzese felt like an attack on them all. Judge Bruzzese, despite being shot multiple times, miraculously survived the attack. His recovery was long and arduous, marked by both physical and emotional scars, but through it all, he displayed remarkable resilience, a testament to his character and his unwavering commitment to the law. He would eventually return to the bench, his spirit unbroken, his resolve strengthened by the ordeal, a symbol of hope and defiance in the face of senseless violence. Nathaniel Richmond, however, did not survive the encounter. His quest for vengeance had cost him his life, leaving behind a trail of questions and heartache, a family left to grapple with the consequences of his actions. His story, a cautionary tale of the devastating power of anger and the seductive allure of revenge. A reminder that violence, no matter the motivation, can only lead to more pain and suffering. In the aftermath of the shooting, the community of Steubenville came together to support Judge Bruzzese and his family. They held vigils, they offered prayers, they sought to make sense of the senseless, but the scars of that day would remain. A constant reminder of the fragility of peace and the ever-present potential for violence. A reminder that even in the most unexpected of places, evil can lurk. The Steubenville courthouse shooting was more than just an isolated incident. It was a stark reminder that the line between good and evil is often blurred, that even those sworn to uphold the law are capable of unthinkable acts. Nathaniel Richmond's betrayal of his oath cut deep. It shook the community's trust in those meant to protect them, and it left behind a lingering sense of unease. The shooting sparked a national conversation about the pressures faced by law enforcement officers and the importance of mental health resources for first responders. It highlighted the need for better screening processes and early intervention programs designed to identify and address potential problems before they escalate into tragedy. Because behind the badge are human beings, susceptible to the same frailties and vulnerabilities as anyone else. And sometimes the weight of the badge itself can become too heavy to bear. The events of that August morning in Steubenville served as a wake-up call, a reminder that violence can erupt anywhere, at any time, and that the ones we often perceive as protectors can sometimes become the very source of our fear. It's a truth we may find uncomfortable, a truth that challenges our perceptions of right and wrong, but it's a truth we can no longer afford to ignore. The courthouse shooting left an indelible mark on Steubenville. It changed the way people viewed their town, their neighbours and the world around them. It was a stark reminder that evil can wear many faces, that even in the most unexpected of places, danger can lurk, and that sometimes the ones we trust the most are the ones we should fear the most. This is just one of many stories where the protectors became the predators. New Orleans, 1995. A city pulsating with life, with music, with a vibrant energy that seemed to flow from its very soul. Tourists flocked to the French Quarter, drawn by its intoxicating blend of history, culture and revelry. But beneath the surface of this joyous facade, a darkness lingered, a current of crime and violence that threatened to consume the city's spirit. And in the heart of this darkness, a chilling tale was about to unfold. The Kim An restaurant, a family-owned Vietnamese establishment, stood as a beacon of warmth and hospitality amidst the bustling city. Its aroma of fragrant pho and the welcoming smiles of its owners drew in locals and tourists alike. It was a place where families gathered to share stories over steaming bowls of noodles, where laughter mingled with the clinking of chopsticks, a place where everyone felt like family. Among those who frequented the restaurant was Antoinette Frank, a young officer with the New Orleans Police Department. She was a familiar face, her presence often bringing a sense of security to the family-run establishment. The Vu family, owners of the Kim An, welcomed Frank with open arms. They saw her as a protector, a guardian against the city's encroaching darkness. They trusted her. They considered her one of their own. They had no reason to believe she was anything but what she seemed. But beneath Frank's polished exterior, a sinister secret festered. Unbeknownst to the Vu family, she harbored a darkness that would soon stain the restaurant's cheerful facade with the indelible mark of betrayal and bloodshed. A darkness that would shatter the illusion of safety and expose the chilling truth, that sometimes the wolf comes dressed in sheep's clothing. On the night of March 4th, 1995, a chill settled over New Orleans, a palpable shift in the air, as if the city itself held its breath, bracing for the horrors to come. The Kim An restaurant, usually bustling with activity, was unusually quiet. The Vu family was preparing to close for the night. They had no way of knowing that this night would become a terrifying turning point in their lives, that their trust would be shattered in the most unimaginable way, that the very person they had welcomed into their hearts would soon become their worst nightmare. Antoinette Frank, scheduled to work a security detail at the restaurant that night, arrived with an unexpected guest in tow. Her boyfriend, Rogers Jackson, a troubled teenager with a history of drug dealing, stood beside her, his presence casting a pall over the usually cheerful atmosphere. The Vu family, though slightly unnerved by Jackson's presence, tried to be welcoming. They trusted Frank, and if she vouched for him, they saw no reason for alarm. Little did they know they had just invited a viper into their nest. As the night deepened, the restaurant's usual warmth seemed to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of unease. Frank, her demeanor unusually cold and distant, moved through the restaurant with an unsettling purpose. Her eyes, once friendly and disarming, now glinted with a chilling calculation. The mask of normalcy was slipping, revealing the predator lurking beneath. The first victim was Officer Ronald Williams II, Frank's unsuspecting partner on duty. He had been assigned to work security with Frank that night. A routine assignment, a chance to earn some extra money. He had no reason to suspect that the woman he called his partner was about to betray him in the most cold-blooded way imaginable. In a chilling act of premeditation, Frank lured Officer Williams to the back of the restaurant, using a fabricated story as bait. She knew the layout, the blind spots, the escape routes, her knowledge of the place, a weapon turned against those she had sworn to protect. Williams, unsuspecting, followed his partner, his guard down, his trust absolute. He never saw it coming. Without warning, Frank drew her service weapon, aiming it at the back of Officer Williams' head. The deafening crack of gunfire shattered the night, the sound echoing through the empty restaurant like a death knell. Williams, caught completely off guard, crumpled to the floor, his lifeblood staining the tile, his dreams of a future extinguished in an instant. He never had a chance to defend himself. With Officer Williams lying dead on the floor, Frank and Jackson turned their attention to the Vu family. Chow Vu, the family matriarch, was confronted first. Her pleas for mercy, her frantic attempts to reason with the monsters before her, fell on deaf ears. Gunshots rang out again and again, each blast a testament to the cold-blooded brutality that had gripped the restaurant. The air grew heavy with the smell of gunpowder and the metallic tone of blood. Kwang Vu, the family patriarch, fought back with a desperate ferocity, trying to protect his loved ones from the onslaught. But he was no match for the ruthless determination of Frank and Jackson. They were on a mission of destruction, fueled by greed and a chilling disregard for human life. The restaurant, once a haven of warmth and laughter, transformed into a scene of unimaginable carnage, a testament to the depths of human depravity. It was the 1970s, a time of bell-bottoms, disco, and a creeping sense of unease in the California suburbs. Because in Sacramento, a predator lurked. He moved through the shadows, a phantom preying on peaceful neighborhoods. He was meticulous, his crimes calculated, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. His victims, average people, couples, families, living their lives, unaware of the darkness closing in. He would break into their homes, tie them up, torment them, and subject them to unimaginable horrors. He became known as the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker, the Golden State Killer. A chilling reminder that evil can lurk behind the most ordinary facades, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. And strike he did, again and again, leaving a community paralyzed by fear and a string of unsolved cases that would haunt investigators for decades. The attacks were brutal, the details too disturbing to ignore. He would often bind his victims with shoelaces, their own belongings used against them in a twisted game of cat and mouse. He would whisper threats, his voice a chilling whisper in the darkness, amplifying the terror. The Golden State Killer didn't just want to subdue his victims, he wanted to control them, to break their spirits. He would ransack their homes, taking small, seemingly insignificant items as trophies, leaving behind a chilling reminder that he had been there, watching, waiting. The police were baffled. They had a few clues, a vague description, but the assailant seemed to vanish into thin air after each attack. The case grew cold, the files gathering dust, but the memory of the terror lingered, a dark cloud hanging over the once peaceful communities. Years turned into decades. Children who had once been warned about the boogeyman grew up, started families of their own, but the memory of the Golden State Killer remained. The fear, once palpable, had settled into a dull ache, a constant reminder of the monster who had never been caught. People changed their routines, installed extra locks, slept with weapons under their pillows. The once vibrant community, now scarred by the invisible hand of fear, lived in the shadow of the unsolved crimes. The case became a haunting reminder that even in the safety of their own homes, no one was truly safe. The police never gave up, but the leads ran cold. The case files, filled with dead ends and unanswered questions, seemed to mock their efforts. The Golden State Killer had seemingly vanished, leaving behind a legacy of fear and a community desperate for answers. Then a breakthrough. The advent of DNA technology offered a glimmer of hope in the darkness. Investigators, clinging to the slimmest of leads, submitted the evidence collected from the crime scenes, hoping for a match, a name, anything that could help them crack the case. The results were promising. The DNA profile, a unique genetic fingerprint, confirmed their suspicions. All the attacks were the work of one man. But the profile didn't match any records in the criminal database. The Golden State Killer, it seemed, had managed to remain a ghost, even in the face of this new technology. Still, the investigators refused to give up. They had a DNA profile, a crucial piece of the puzzle. Now, they needed to find the face that matched the monster. They knew that somewhere out there, living an ordinary life, was a man who harbored a dark a secret that was about to be exposed. The break in the case came from an unexpected source, a genealogy website. Investigators, using a technique called genetic genealogy, uploaded the Golden State Killer's DNA profile to the website, hoping to find a distant relative, a familial link that could lead them to their suspect, and then a match. The DNA evidence pointed to distant relatives, leading investigators to a name, Joseph James DeAngelo, a 72-year-old former police officer. Could this seemingly ordinary man be the monster they had been hunting for all these years? As investigators dug deeper into DeAngelo's past, a chilling picture began to emerge. He had lived a double life, a seemingly normal existence masking a dark side. He had been a police officer sworn to protect and serve, yet he had terrorized communities, leaving a trail of pain and suffering in his wake. The man who had once been a symbol of law and order was about to become the face of one of the most notorious crime sprees in American history. Whispered, cold. We are told the police protect us. But what happens when the protector becomes the predator? When the ones with power use it to destroy? These were not accidents, not moments of madness. These were calculated, cold, merciless. These were real. And they prove the most terrifying monster don't always wear masks. Sometimes they wear the badge. Subscribe for more chilling true crime stories, if you dare.